I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 13. I liked the coin guy from last episode.
He was pretty terrifying, though, I'd have to say.
Yeah,
aim.
I was a big dummy and thought it was Wolf for a split second, but I'm kind of glad that we're getting more, I don't know, more characters being put on the table, because now I'm like, oh shit, am I going to see him again? Do I have to worry about Thorfinn getting hit in the eye with a coin?
You would want to bring him with. Like, you would want Wolf and this guy.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you're going to be trying to requisition the land here, and you're bringing a bunch of men, like 102, something like that, I think I'd want this guy. Like, he shattered that butterfly so quickly.
I know. I know this isn't realistic to hope for, but I wish that his entire art, like the only weapon he would use is currency. Yeah. I've seen similar things in other shows, but it would be so badass, dude.
I think I would prefer if he had like a weapon of choice. I agree with that.
Yeah.
This is what we really care about.
I'm nervous. I'm scared for my emotions going into this episode, because I don't know if we're going to go right up into Canute arriving or if we're going to see a Leaf Thorfinn reunion. I have no idea.
And we also have what's happening with Ketil and Olmar right now in terms of their emotions. Obviously, Thorgil is like, everything's sweet. But the other two members of the family are feeling really bad, for lack of a better word. And I feel like we have to have a little more time with Olmar realizing that he has killed a man, Ketil realizing like the state of where his farm stands in terms of the king coming after the land.
Yeah.
And trying to get forces together. I am nervous.
We got this. I believe in us.
We have Thorfinn, but we don't want him to fight.
Yeah. But honestly, like that's the root of me being scared. Like not wanting Thorfinn to have to break a vow or do something that he isn't dead set on doing anymore. And I'm hopeful that's not going to happen, but that's why I'm stalling right now. Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Dark clouds. Where are we?
Sphericals? What does this represent? A slave?
Einar? No.
Oh, his leg! Dude! Who is this guy?
Okay, his slave.
Like uprising.
I feel like I've heard this voice actor before. I'll become your slave. Jesus. What the hell, man?
This sword looks really important.
It reminds me of Askeladd's sword, but it's obviously different.
Were they also slaves, or did he just let them live?
Now I must go get her. Arned?
That's what I was thinking. Why wouldn't it be a her that we know?
Yeah.
For that line.
That's the only, like... Oh, okay, wait.
Are we not supposed to watch?
I have no idea, but let's not watch it to be safe.
Okay.
Let's not watch it to be safe.
Cool. I really love the first song, so this
is
gonna have to be really good.
Apologies if it's okay to watch this. I'd rather be safe because I don't want anything, like, you know, taken away.
I was really ready to hear the ow, you know, sound when the first intro starts.
Okay, let's give it a chance. Oh.
Does it have season 1 vibes to you?
A little bit. It has Census Fail vibes to me.
I like it. I would listen to this, like, anytime.
First season 2 OP, you get to sing. Second season 2 OP, I get to sing.
Karaoke night. Okay.
Alright.
Aw, so pleasant. Some baby pigs.
I don't like it. What to do next? Wow.
That offer is not on the table anymore.
Now I feel like that's what the guy was referencing too.
Yeah, right. Oh no. Oh no. Did he just get, like, suddenly worried about him?
What, is it lining up with the day the Kettle's coming back?
Maybe.
Oh, fuck. I love that animation.
Oh. His predictions coming true.
Snake's gonna be so happy. He's gonna be in love. Everyone's gonna be in love.
Look at him.
Look at Thorfinn. I love Snake so much.
He was coughing. What a cute family they all make.
Right? Be ashamed if somebody came to take it all
away.
I
know, right? This is just to remind us that Spherical was totally against amassing this amount of wealth. They'll be able to get closer too.
But somebody's coming, we think, right? Can he pull strings for her?
I hope so.
I love Thorfinn like letting them have their time to talk.
Is it about the ship coming in? A different farm. Interesting.
Is he on his way here? Violent man and a skilled fighter.
You need to protect this farm.
In groups of 3. Smart. I did not think anything like this was gonna happen.
I know. This is like a new plot line.
God, Snake is so smart. Oh, that's a great line.
And he has that stab wound in his side, too.
Look at his eyes. That's something like dead set on like a motivation.
Mm-hmm. I didn't expect anything new being introduced into the story.
Oh shit. I'm scared.
They're not supposed to act. Of course these two would be there.
Oh no.
You're idiots.
Oh no. He's not gonna be there. Come on.
I'm so... Idiots! I can't watch.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
They're all dead.
And they're meant to be here to protect the farm?
Maybe one of them will make it out, but... I'm so nervous.
He's
Interesting.
dropping on the... He says it's...
I love Thorfinn. Damn.
They all care about him so much. When someone needs you, you should be caring about them this much. The Bible?
He has a horse now. He has a horse now.
It is someone she knows. One of them's dead.
He killed
Of course,
Lizard.
it would be the one we don't really know. Like a long-lost love?
I have chills. Oh my god.
Just because Einar had feelings, that doesn't mean that she did. Or is this bad?
My
wife! Is this bad? Is she happy about this? Is he...
We don't know if we're able to watch this yet either. I'm sorry, that sucks, but next episode we'll watch both if we're able to, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, that was Vinland Saga, Season 2, Episode 13. Before I even say my thoughts, like, at all, by next episode we'll definitely figure out if we can watch the intro and outro. I really want to, obviously, but if it's going to be something that's like... We've seen shows in the past that I feel like an intro could ruin or at least dampen a moment that could occur during.
Right.
I will say the first intro for season 2 for me didn't spoil really anything other than what Thorfinn could look like with a beard.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that it was beautiful and I really enjoyed watching the first intro. So we'll figure out if we're able to or not.
The outro though, the first outro.
Yeah.
I do remember us saying it. The first outro reflected an episode that happened in the series.
Yeah.
And so we did appreciate, in hindsight, that we hadn't watched it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it would have actually affected our
Yeah.
watching. But the outro did have scenes and shots that
Yeah.
were similar to an episode that exists in the series that wasn't the first episode.
But holy shit, I did not think another plot line was going to come out of left field,
never.
literally.
Especially after last episode, like the height that we were at was like finale level height in terms of where the plots were converging.
I don't know. I definitely want to talk about some stuff that did happen, but just speculating what's going to happen going forward. I mean, you have Arnade, who's obviously, it seems to me, going to be like, yo, don't kill this dude, he's my husband. But it's also Arnade who would probably be like, Gardar, like, husband, don't kill these people, they're nice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I have no fucking idea what's gonna happen, because then you have Einar who wants to protect Arnade, but he doesn't have any ill will towards, you know, anybody there.
I have two things to put on the table in regards to that.
Okay.
Like the theorizing of this man being Arnade's husband. The first idea or thought process to put on the table is, of course, we're following Thorfinn and Einar, so their emotions are the ones that we know about. We know that there's a crush going one way, but that doesn't mean that the love goes the other way.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to put on the table is that her expression at the end was not clear enough to me to completely eliminate the idea that this is bad, that she's afraid of him.
You think that's a potential?
I think it is a potential. Like
then why call out to him?
I was just putting on the table that maybe he was a violent, possibly abusive man as a husband.
Interesting.
And I think in the shock of seeing him, maybe, but just the look on her face at the very end of the episode is where that thought came in. Like, she didn't necessarily look incredibly happy. So, and the expression wasn't completely clear, so I don't want to eliminate some other options.
Gotcha.
Which is that this isn't a good thing in her opinion. It might be a chance at freedom for her, which would inherently be a good thing, because if he freed her, that would be good.
Yeah.
But if he's not a safe person to be with, then that adds a more complex element to this.
I wonder if, like, it could be like, holy shit, like, Arnade's putting together 2 and 2, like, my husband was the one who just killed his master and kids. Holy shit, this is him. He might be injured. I'm in shock. Just like a holy shit, I'm trying to process everything. I wonder if what's his name? Garter is going to look at Arnade's hands, and arms, because there's such a focus on them in this episode.
Especially right before he shows up.
Yeah, like, what did you do to her? And try to, like, just go violent off the bat, because he seems pretty fucking wired right now.
This element being introduced when it was so heavy, like, we've been so worried here that this plot line with Canute and Ketil was going to probably hurt Thorfinn and Einar's chances at actual freedom. We were worried about that. But then the focus is now on what Einar's focus was, which was the fact that they might be able to gain freedom, but Arnade may never, because she doesn't have the same deal. And this is just plot point came out of nowhere to me. I thought that through Ketil dying in the future, or through the requisition of land and everything being in chaos, that we'd be able to whisk Arnade away. Maybe we run away. Maybe through fighting for Ketil's farm, we're able to strike a deal for Arnade. Like, I thought that... But then again, while I'm saying this, it sounds more like she'd be a reward. And I don't necessarily like the idea that she'd be a reward.
Yeah. My mind immediately goes to, like, okay, well, what the fuck's gonna happen when everybody gets back? Like, the idea of, like, Thorgil, Olmar, and Ketil returning here with Leif. It's hard to try to understand or guess what might happen, because we don't know what the outcome of this is going to be like. I don't imagine they're going to come they're going to arrive right while this shit's going down. You know what I mean? I would think that this would be handled one way or another before they get back.
Right. We know it's days that it takes to journey there. Question to bring into this, because this character hasn't been mentioned in this scenario. How would Thorfinn handle Arnade being taken away by Garter?
Do you think he'd respond in a...
I don't necessarily know, but we do know he's been observing this love, at least from Einar's side, and that he's aware of how Einar feels.
Okay, so my interpretation of how Einar feels is, like, of course there is that romance element. Like, I'm not ignorant to that. But Einar's love, in my view of it, is something that is farther than just, oh, I am romantically interested in you. I think that Arnade, like, that he'd want Arnade to be happy overall.
I completely agree.
And so it's hard to answer what Thorfinn would do. That being said, I think it's more of like, okay, what would Thorfinn do if he started attacking Snake and Snake asked for help? Because Snake's a little bit aware of Thorfinn's prowess. Like, at that point, I don't know what happens.
Gramps. What if he attacks Gramps? It seems like this Garter, we don't know if that woman from that other farm was also a slave, but he could be someone that doesn't kill women and children.
Yeah.
And that could have been one of the slave owner's wives and not actually a slave, and he could have just spared them. So Spherical is an older man. He is the father figure of the head of the farm. He's currently the head of the farm, if you will, for who's here. Obviously, Ketil's wife is really in charge here. But I wouldn't necessarily put it past this man to kill anyone that is a man that approaches him in this scenario. And if Gramps gets out of bed... And as we get this idea that he's senile, he forgot that the wheat was recently harvested. What if he does try to come out with a sword or something? get out of bed and do something. And
I don't know. I think that like he Garter would be quick to be like, he's a slave owner. I fucking hate him regardless. I've seen what a slave owner does to people. I automatically want to kill him. But in my opinion, before it even gets anywhere close to that, it's going to have to be a Snake one-on-one first. And whether that's talking or immediate fighting. Snake ran in to get his sword. I wonder if that's going to lean into him being like, Gramps, stay in here. This is happening, you know? Or what's going to come of it.
Right. That's really perfect to bring up this idea that the person that we're saying would be the person to fight Garter just ran into the house to get his sword. He is not currently on location. Does that mean anything in terms of, will something happen that makes it that Snake is too late?
Yeah.
To run back out of the house.
I wouldn't think so, but I do think it's interesting that earlier this episode Snake said there's no telling what a cornered man will do. And I love that line, but I think it's a bit of foreshadowing of like, holy shit, we shouldn't assume that Garter's going to react in a way that we could think that a normal person thinking a normal way would. He's like literally a cornered cat, right? A cornered man.
He's
like
very injured too.
Yeah. But he's still able to fight. Damn, what is his past like? I don't know. It's so I had no idea this is going to happen. Like the idea that I'm not even thinking currently about Kettle and Canute, and that's all I was thinking about 22 minutes ago.
How could it not have occurred to me that families could have been like, obviously I know I've taken like history classes. Families get broken up in the slave trade. Like that.
But I think incorporating that in the story in this way is what is throwing is like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit.
I think the main reason that it's like, what the fuck, is because we had plot points that were converging at once.
Yeah.
And they were giant ones that had been introduced from the first episode. And we also, on top of that, have Spherical getting to the point where he might die.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is sentimental and important to Einar and Thorfinn plot point. And to introduce another one here is the thing that is the most surprising.
Man, I'm so excited.
Not what it means. Like, it's not crazy to me that Arnade had a husband and they were owned by separate families.
But, like, you know, it's like, the writing in season 2 has been so good so far that on these converging plot points, I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's getting there. But for them to add this in right now, I trust, like, the mangaka, assumingly, so much that this feels like a controlled explosion. Like, in, like, a scientific controlled, like, oh, you thought you fucking had any semblance of idea that was going on. Just you fucking wait. Here's Garter. Like, what? Fucking Jesus. Arnade's murderous husband because he's trying to free himself from torture, but that's also going to be thrown into the mix. God,
they really did trick the viewer with like what last episode was. There was no doubt in our minds that we had some semblance of idea of what would be coming. We didn't know I think our main question was, will Thorfinn fight or not, or what would make him fight, or how would other characters interact with him? Would he still have his freedom at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Like, that was our main question. We were not even thinking about anything being changed up from the arrival of Leif and Kettle and what that meant for Thorfinn's freedom. Like,
I cannot believe this man made Jalakis lay on the ground, kiss his fucking shoe, and say, I'll become your slave. Like, that's insane. That I was losing my mind.
And okay, so it wasn't clear at first, but one of the best moments in terms of like gasp was he's exiting the house, and that's when you realize his leg has been chopped off and he is like hopping out of the house. I was like, oh my god. Like, once that moment had me like gasping.
I really, really want to reread and go through my favorite part of the episode. And that was Arnade being like, yo, Einar, what's Thorfinn doing? And he's eavesdropping in on the Bible being read, not because he's Christian, but because he says that it's interesting.
Yeah, around 1854.
Uh-huh.
I wrote it down because I was like, I wanted to talk about it too.
Yeah. I mean, we're there. I think that, like, what we have to really hone in on here is the themes being said, right? Like, I was on the edge of my seat with every line Snake said, because it's going to be important to the narrative and character of Thorfinn in I think the immediate future, right? I was wondering if there was going to be lines said that I feel like I brought up in my really bad prediction of what Canute was going to end up being like in season 1, like some crazy skilled fighter who just chooses not to fight because of, like, that's what a true soldier would do biblically, but that wasn't touched on at all. And I think that it's really interesting what was. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Long dead air. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? God.
And getting the eyebrow shot upon that line.
Do not even the tax collectors do the same? If you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? Therefore, you are to be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Man, that is... How the fuck is that going to loop into into Thorfinn's character going forward? Like, what? Like, my immediate assumption would be like, okay, something's going to be said here that he might be able to call upon with or without realizing it in an interaction or altercation, you know, like coming to blows, but that's not at all the content of what was spoken. And I wonder, like, it's just so interesting to me because it's interesting to Thorfinn and seeing what he's taking in as a character himself. Is this like setting itself up for Thorfinn to be able to talk to Canute, I was going to say, but it seems like this would be very sage and a wise thing to read if you are in a position that you are able to give. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like the idea of sending rain not only on the people who love you, but those who, tax collector. Do you have any ideas with it?
Honestly, I think I don't really have any ideas what he's learned. I can't go into like literally seeing how that would apply or like what he would do.
Nor does there need
what he's heard. Nor does there need to be anything.
Just for the sake of speculation.
It could just be that what is important for the viewer to get here is that this is a continuous thing that's happening. Is that Snake is reading the gospel, the Bible to Spherical, and that Thorfinn is listening in so much so that Einar kind of respects his interest. It's like, oh, he give him this time to be listening. But with that, I then have to say this passage in particular has to be vitally important, because if he's constantly doing this where he's listening in and you're only going to pick one of those instances and one of those passages to be what you show in that introduction of what he's been doing, that passage in itself has to be incredibly important.
Yeah. I wonder if like the intention or like part of the intention of making sure that the line was stated that Thorfinn isn't a Christian is to further propel like what is the Bible, right? What is a parable? Like are you trying to be able to convey a sense of morality and right from wrong and how a person should abide by living and what they should do to their brother, their neighbor, their wife, the idea of it being brought up in just a character sense of what the Bible would be telling you and how to live your life. It seems like it could span religions, right? Like it, regardless of what religion, what Bible, like what who that God is, that idea of what a person should be doing. It gives me a bit of Thor's in the start of the series, you know?
That's really fair to bring up. This passage in itself is not something that is like the idea, the concept is not totally just Christianity.
Yeah.
In terms of like loving and caring for other people, even if they giving mercy, giving love to in all respect to all living creatures. That is not something that is like only Christianity does that.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's really fair. Like you don't have to just be thinking of these words as what religion is being attached to them here. You could be thinking about the words as they exist themselves as words and just what they mean.
I would love to know, like, what if Thorfinn at all thinks that Gramps has gotten to the point where he is and acts how he does because of the Bible's influence and help and like teachings and lessons.
It's very I think that we can start to understand what we originally learned about Gramps in terms of like his relationship with his son, as now we're seeing more foundation of how that was created.
Mm-hmm.
He is very against the wealth that has been amassed by his son. It's all unnecessary wealth.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have just had a humble farm, been able to have good food on the table for you and your family, and like had a happy and peaceful life, like working hard and at the end of the day sharing a meal together? And he had a prediction that amassing of wealth and all the slaves were going to be a downfall of the family.
Yeah. What do you God, it's wild to me that this is one family. Like, what do you think Sverkel's opinion on Thorgil is? What would it look like with them interacting at this exact moment in time? You know, like with the information that we have and he doesn't. It's interesting.
He doesn't have so that's I think I have a little segue from that point because I think we have to bring it up. Snake in this episode says that Sverkel does not have long to live. Lines like that are very purposeful. Lines that make jokes about living and dying, and then the character is killed moments later or is in like a fight for their life moments later. We get a joke like that when the three men are watching Garter in the woods, and then what happens? He comes up upon them. It's very purposeful when lines like that are used, and every time I ever hear a character in any show make a joke about death, make a comment about living and dying, I immediately am on guard for their life. And I don't think that we should forget that Snake says that Gramps does not have long to live.
Yeah.
That he literally says it.
I think that was what one of my takeaways immediately afterwards that I want to talk about with you was Thorfinn like getting up and being like, "Yo, Snake, what's your relationship with him?" And Snake said that I'm just planning to inherit and sell that book once Gramps kicks the bucket. Now, what's your interpretation of it?
That it's not wholly the truth. I think as a viewer, we have seen the dynamic that Snake and Sverkel actually have, which feels very father-son, very I'm gonna roast you, you're gonna roast me back, but at the end of the day, we're sharing a meal. And if you think about Snake's reaction to realizing that Sverkel hasn't come back from his farm yet, that is not the reaction of someone who's worried about inheriting a book.
Yeah.
That is a reaction of a loving family member, because there was no reason that he should have been that worried necessarily unless he was having a gut feeling or gut sense.
And it's that change of like being his normal self in like a character sense of like, if I'm being a character around my friends and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm just waking up, I didn't eat lunch, where's dinner? I need dinner, come on, Gramps." And then that like shock realization of like, "Oh shit, I can't be doing shtick right now," or like be like shit's gone wrong. There could be something horribly wrong here.
And think about how he reads the Bible.
Yeah.
He is reading it clearly, calmly. He is reading it respectfully. Only once he has finished the passage does he make a joke. But he is really diligently reading this to Spherical.
Yeah.
And I honestly I really liked that when he was done. He was like, "Can I go back to the first part? It's more interesting." I was like, that's funny.
Oh my god. Revelations? No, relevations. Yeah. Did you ever have jokes like that? Oh, God, never mind. No. That's too niche. I'm sorry.
Too niche.
Yeah.
Something else. Do you have anything else?
I just want to elaborate on that for a second. I got to the point I was one of the schools that I was attending or had to attend was very religious, and we couldn't make jokes about anything. So how sad is it that it got to the point that the only jokes we could make is like saying like is biblical jokes.
It's like saying things slightly wrong.
Yeah, but okay. Moving on.
Do you have anything else?
I have a couple things that I had written down that I wanted to talk about. One was a piece of animation that we got when it actually is connecting to what we were just talking about, is when Snake comes up to Spherical, and it was when he was jumping off of his horse here. I really enjoyed it. Like the horse coming to the stop, you can see it's like it emoting as a horse would, and neighing, not just, being silent.
So this isn't just because you like horses in anime, right?
This is a pretty cool horse, I'm not gonna lie. This is like a probably 9.5 out of 10 horse in anime. Maybe like 9.8 if that's allowed. But I love him jumping off and dismounting. It's so cool. It feels like they used like genuine reference for it, because look at how Snake gets almost like caught up on the horse itself here. Right?
Because he's moving so quickly and so emotionally here that this dismount is not going to be the most graceful thing ever.
Yeah, here, I'm going frame by frame now for it. So he's pulling his leg up and jumping off, and look at his left foot.
He gets kind of stuck a little bit.
Yeah, do you see how it like pulls his
You're right.
his left leg back a little bit? Mm-hmm. I adore that. I thought that was so cool.
And not only that, but they have the horse continue to move instead of stay still. You're right that it seems like they watched a reference of what like a horse would do after that, and how someone jumps off a horse if they're like in a hurry.
Yeah. Lizard's dead. They fucking...
That was the most idiotic moment in anime history. Moments like that have me just staring at the screen, being so out of my immersion, but in a funny way, like in a good way, because I'm like, these idiots.
If they played that smart, and not smart as like, let's go get reinforcements, but okay, we're gonna do this anyway. 3v1, we got this, and weren't making a commotion and screaming and just like tried to sneak up, do you think they have any chance?
No.
Yeah.
And what it brings us to again is this idea that these men are the ones that have this experience. Therefore, they were teasing Omar. They instigate Omar into trying to attack Thorfinn and Einar, when really they obviously have very little actual warrior and battle experience. Because since when would they turn their back on an enemy and start yelling? There's no battle sense there.
Smart warriors live longer.
I'm surprised they lived as long as to meet us in this show.
Yep.
Because obviously they're I guess it's because they underestimated this man, because they're like, oh, he's just slumped over with that tree. He's probably so tired now, but they literally didn't heed the warning. And obviously we know that one of them did. We know that, be quiet, be quiet. The only one that received the line from Snake about you don't know what a cornered man's gonna do. The other two just don't have that wisdom.
I was just thinking back to that interaction we had with Snorfin, Einar, and Snake. And can you imagine how much Thorfinn's grown since being there, being like, what's the fucking point? Letting his ear get cut off before Snake shows up, and just being ready and willing to die.
He's changed
versus
so
now,
much,
oh my god, I love it. I love Thorfinn. Great protagonist.
Great protagonist.
All right, that's all I have. You.
My one last thing, which I now realize is more evidence that Spherical's going to die.
Okay.
I think it was around 21 minutes in. The idea comes up of, it's in that same conversation of he's probably gonna die soon, Spherical. Repay his kindness while you still have the chance. That has energy of protecting Spherical, protecting his house, protecting the Bible. I don't know. Something about repaying his kindness. I don't think that should be lost on us either in terms of plot going forward of what Thorfinn might do here, or might be what he might justify becoming.
I think that's a good point to bring up.
Taking action for.
I definitely think Spherical's gonna die. I don't even think it's like, oh, evidence it's gonna happen. At some point in the next year, he's probably going to die. Yeah. God.
Yep.
All right. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.